Ashley Jones, and I'm the owner of MCA. And today I wanted to talk about something that I've been seeing quite a bit of. In fact, you're probably going to see a lot of these types of recordings and social media posts, articles about this topic, because I do think that there is a gross misunderstanding between how to actually use AI and really how to position yourself as a marketer when it comes to utilizing these tools, and how businesses should look at their marketing department when it comes to AI. I mean, AI is not going to replace your marketing department. It's just another tool. It's just like using Microsoft Word. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to just really focus in on content because that's really what my business is about. We're going to talk about how content improves visibility in AI platforms and how you can really win attention in the age of AI search. This actually reminds me, it's going to age me a bit, but when I was in my 20s, I remember a wave of journalists leaving traditional newsrooms and moving into what was then called brand journalism, which eventually evolved into what we know today as content marketing. And at that time, many of those professionals were saying that SEO just didn't matter. You didn't need it. Who cares about keywords? But that really wasn't the case. In fact, I still see those professionals today utilizing Google Analytics, doing some keyword research. They were saying it's about great content. And you know what? That is true. Great content should naturally show up in searches. You should naturally use some of those keywords. But at the end of the day, you should have a plan. You should always be strategic with your marketing efforts. Like, you would never do a direct mail piece and just blast it out to a bunch of people, right? You would want to blast it out to your audience. You would want the people at, I don't think a lot of us do direct mail, but if you do, it could be expensive. So you want to send it to the right people that are going to receive what that direct mail piece is, or you're just going to waste a lot of money. Digital isn't quite as expensive, but you still need to be strategic with your efforts because it can easily get expensive when you're doing things like Google Ads and those types of initiatives to promote your content. So I do think at that time that a lot of the mindset was going from knowing, how search worked. Not really understanding how search worked paired with a need for finding a position to currently utilize the skills that they had. And I think we're seeing that now. I think people are getting worried. They want to make sure that people know that they know about AI, but they don't know about SEO. So they're thinking, okay, well, how can I leverage AI, and who cares about SEO? This will just help me to become more relevant and to get, more clients, or get, be more strategically positioned in the job market to move up, or it will help me increase my revenue, right? Like, I don't have to pay for as many people, so I have more money coming in. So, you really just need to think about that and to be strategic and understand how these tools are being used. There's a narrative that traditional SEO is going away, but that's not really the case. It's just evolving. The core principle will always remain the same. You have to understand the platform you're creating for. That's always been the case. And that's why I'm going to go back to, traditional journalism when they were leaving those newsrooms. When you're writing content for the web, you have to think about the platform that you're utilizing for promotion. And search engines, for example, operate a certain way. They have certain rules, and AI operates a certain way and has certain rules as well. So we'll be talking about that. The difference now is that we're optimizing just not for search engines, but for a broader ecosystem that includes AI-driven tools and experience. Let's go into the shift in search behavior. So search has fundamentally changed. People aren't just typing keywords into Google anymore. They're asking full questions to tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity. Instead of scrolling through links, users expect a direct, summarized answer. That means the goal isn't just to rank, it's to be included in the answer itself. This also shifts how content is evaluated. It's less about exact keyword matches and more about whether your content actually understands and addresses the context behind the question. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do keyword research. I still think it's important for you to understand what people are using, because at the end of the day, AI is taking sources that are coming from what's being ranked on Google. So AI does look at Google. So traditional SEO still does matter. You just need to think about how AI is taking it to another level. So visibility used to mean ranking high and earning clicks, but that hasn't gone away. In many cases, you still need to rank in traditional search to even be considered as a source, like I said. So what's changed is what happens next. In AI-driven search, visibility doesn't stop at the clicks. Your content also needs to be referenced, summarized, or directly used in responses. So it's no longer just, are we ranking? It's, are we ranking and are we being used as a source in, say, ChatGPT? So how AI platforms choose this content? So AI platforms are selective. They're designed to avoid misinformation and provide high confidence answers. They look for content that clearly answers a question. It's structured logically, comes from credible sources, and is up to date. I think I remember talking about that when it comes to traditional SEO too. So if your content is vague, overly promotional, or hard to follow, it's likely ignored. So think of it in a way that AI is scanning for the clearest, most trustworthy explanation available type content. And this is where it gets into being truly unique, right? So you don't want to be creating content that is just regurgitated from ChatGPT and expect to show up as a source in ChatGPT, especially if ChatGPT created it. You want to leverage your subject matter experts to create that content. You want to show that you're really an expert in that area, right? So you may go online and do research and add, a little bit more information to it from other, hopefully credible sources, but you still want to have unique content is credible to your own expertise. That's what ChatGPT wants to see. And you want to rank on Google by using the fundamentals that we're talking about here, having it logically. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit too. Like, what does it mean to structure your content logically, right? So yeah, you may not have to look at keywords as exact anymore, but it is helpful, right? And anybody that does SEO knows that there are places that you put those keywords in order for robots to understand what your content is about. So it's going to help the robot to understand what your content is about. So yeah, you don't need to obsess with these keywords, but you still need to care. You still need to understand what it is that your audience is looking for, and you need to understand search intent. And it's just understanding what are people asking in these AI-driven platforms. So the best performing content in AI environments does a few things really well. So it's going to answer those questions directly. There's going to be no fluff. Second, it's going to be easy to scan with clear headings and short sections. It's just like how you always should have been reading in digital. It should be very skimmable. And third, it's going to balance clarity with depth. So you don't need to be long-winded, but you do need to demonstrate your expertise. This is where a lot of brands miss the mark. They either oversimplify or overcomplicate. So the role of authority is actually one of the biggest things that you get when you see like a source being cited in AI. These tools are more likely to trust and cite content when they can clearly identify it. So remember how I just said a little bit ago that usually SEO people know where to stick keywords so the robot understands what that content is about. This is where making sure that these robots understand what you're writing about. So want to make sure that it's really defined on who created it, why it's credible, and whether the brand consistently publishes high quality information. This is why we do push, at least at MCA, having pillar pages, blog posts, because where are you going to put this content that's answering questions, right? Like, where are you going to put it on your site? You can't just have a site that's talking about your products and have these random, it's probably not going to cite your service pages. And I hate to break it to you. It's going to bring up pages like your blog posts or pillar pages. Now, if you don't know what a pillar page, do Google it or get in your ChatGPT and look it up, and you'll probably come up with HubSpot as a source. I do think HubSpot is the one that really pushed that. And, we are a HubSpot partner, so we talk about a lot of those things at MCA, but pillar pages are really just long form content. Almost look at it like ebook that's a web page. So it may sound like, why would you want a piece of content that is that long on your site? Well, there's a lot of reasons. You can actually answer multiple questions and show up in AI. And it also helps you to have really good internal linking. It helps with that internal linking structure. So you see how like it all does connect. You still need that SEO. You still need those fundamentals. So it's not just about one piece of content anymore. It's your entire content ecosystem. It's consistency, clarity, and credibility. That's really going to reinforce everything and show that you are an authority and that you really are an expert on that subject matter. So structure is everything. AI tools don't read like humans. So this is where we're getting into what I was talking about a little bit ago, understanding where to put key information in your blog post. It's not just about organizing it by questions. I mean, yeah, you do need to do that. You do need to have short sections, bullets, clear summaries, but it's just understanding like where to put that so the robot understands what that piece of content really is about. So the clearer your structure is, the easier it is for AI to understand it. So if a human can quickly scan and understand your content, AI can do that too. And that's really what you want. So a lot of content strategies haven't really caught up yet. Unfortunately, I do see brands that they're still doing that promotional content. They are writing strictly for the search engine and they're not really thinking about that user intent. I actually feel like this question oriented type writing isn't anything new. I just think it's really forcing people to do it if they want to show up in these AI platforms and these AI tools. I mean, really you should have been doing it all along. People that are good with SEO, they understand, say, those long tail keyword phrases that are typically questions. I mean, honestly, if you're trying to get your website up in traffic for your target audience, writing about things that they're researching, I mean, you just have to understand that they're going to be further out in the sales cycle, right? Because they're just researching, they're really not ready to buy. But if you're writing about those long tail keyword phrases that are typically questions in your blog, you're more likely to rank for those phrases. But I bet you any amount of money, those phrases are included in questions that people are looking at in AI. So if you were doing it, the probability of you showing up in AI searches is probably pretty high. It's just the thing is you have to make sure it's new. So AI does want quality content and new content. So that's why keeping your content up to date. So some mistakes that you can make is making your content overly promotional and it's outdated or thin even. It does look at how much content you have there. And SEO does that too. Back in the day, I remember learning that, oh, well, you don't really need that much content if you have the right keywords and the right strategy in place, which is kind of true. And it still is in some cases. However, the longer the content it is, and the more content clusters that you have, the more your content's working together, the more you are to become a subject matter on that expert in the World Wide Web. So it's no different with AI. So, going into that, optimizing your existing content, you really don't have to start from scratch here, which is kind of nice. You should have some kind of a blog in place or some pillar pages even. You want to start identifying what should be a high value page on your site. I'm not talking about your service pages or your product pages. I'm talking about good quality content pages on your site. So go in there and start editing those pages. Make answers more direct. Break up long sections. Add clear headings, which you should have been doing anyways if you were doing SEO. Include sources or expertise indicators. I do suggest that you be careful with that. You do want to make sure that you are using authoritative sites when you are including people as sources in your content. And you do want to make sure too you are strategic about it. At the end of the day, you want to be that expert. So you just want to make sure that you're careful with how many you use and the types of sites that you are linking to. So small changes really can make a difference here. You just have to remember at the end of the day, AI tools are built around questions. So your content should reflect that. Instead of writing broad topics, break them into specific answerable questions. This increases your chances of being pulled into responses because your content directly matches how queries are framed. So that's really going to help you here. Now, the question is, can you measure this? You can. Clicks still matter, but they're not the full picture. And this is where it gets a little hairy. You should also be looking at whether your brand shows up in AI responses. And there are tools, just like you would tracking rankings, that can show that. The quality of the traffic that you're getting and engagement once users get there. And this is where having other types of marketing in place is important, making sure that you have your content. Like if someone, say, is sourcing, they're going into ChatGPT and your blog keeps coming up as a source on a specific topic, and say they do go to your blog, right? And actually, if you think about it, somebody that goes from ChatGPT to your blog is probably going to be it's going to be better traffic than, say, somebody who's just, clicking, I think, from Google search. Once they land on your site, you should have something that's going to capture that user, so you can then put them into, say, other types of marketing like HubSpot. And then you can nurture that lead, because they are kind of a lead. So you can nurture that lead into becoming hopefully a customer, or just, say they are already a customer, but just being a loyal fan of yours, that you're constantly giving them content in the form of email at that point. So it's always about providing consistent, valuable information. Now, this is just a piece of what we're going to be touching on when it comes to AI. You're going to see a lot more that I'm going to be discussing in the coming weeks and in the coming months. I do think that we need to talk about this more. We need to understand how these tools are being used. It just breaks my heart when I see people thinking that they're going to write their entire blog off of ChatGPT and thinking, oh, now we're utilizing AI. Why would AI source you if it created the content for you? It's not going to see you as a credible source. I mean, I hate to say it. So there's that. And then, it's the same thing. In order for AI to even consider you as a source, you got to rank in Google. So SEO still matters. You just have to think about things a little bit differently. It's just evolving. You just have another tool that you want to show up in now too. If you have any questions, please contact me. I would love to answer those questions, or even have a dialogue. If you don't agree with me, hey, I'm open to discussing it. But otherwise, have a great day, everyone. And actually, it's more like evening. I am doing this in my home office tonight. So it's something I really wanted to touch on, and I didn't want to waste any time. So I thought I'd do it at home on a weekend. But have a great day, everyone. And I will talk to you later. Bye.